thank you to the patriotic Liberty Center
That's
student
right.
section, Chuck, and a dancing tiger mascot.
That's right. They get it on over there at Liberty Center. They do things right.
They do it right. Welcome to week 3 of the Tim and Chuck Show, presented by Batt and Stevens Body Shop. We are here on location at Frickers, as always, Chuck, and 3 weeks in already.
Man, it goes fast, doesn't it? It's like, just seemed like yesterday we were talking about 7-on-7s and getting ready for week 1 and scrimmages, and man, all of a sudden we're in the meat of the season.
Yeah, and the excitement continues to build.
Oh yeah, you know, every week more and more the stakes amp up a little bit. People are starting to talk computer points and big rivalries and matchups, and
well, we've got a lot to cover right off the beginning, Chuck. Ethan Matson goes to these games. He does a great job. He was at the Liberty Center Napoleon 3 overtime thriller last week. Liberty Center wins 27-21. We'll get to that. But let's talk about some fun things that we saw during week 2. Chuck, first off, obviously, Henry County Neighbors, huge crowd.
that's right. You know, love thy neighbor, except for 7:05 when these two teams are playing, right?
Exactly. Look at the crowd. That's amazing.
Yes.
Now, when these two teams get together, you know that they have a reputation as being physical. The tone was set early, play 1. You've got Alex Andrews taking a handoff, and he got spun down pretty hard.
That's right.
By Christian Colley right off the bat.
Set the tone. First play, I tell guys all the time, set the tone, and that guy will still be thinking about that in the fourth quarter or third overtime.
Well, Alex Andrews didn't just sit back. He dished out some punishment. Check out this run.
Wow, low pad level leg drive, get out of the way.
Now, here's a fun one. All right, I'm going to let you handle this one because you know something about defensive linemen. Should talk about this play. A little bit of fun.
That's right. You know what happens in a pile stays in a pile. First off, but here Lucas Frankfurter, you know, comes up with a big fumble recovery, and he is psyched up. He's handing out, you know, chest bumps, low fives, telling people to get off him on the sideline because he's all that in a bag of chips. It's probably a good thing Coach Lingard got out of his way there.
Well, yeah. 602-55 junior was probably a good thing, although Rex would give him a run for his money.
That's right. Rex wouldn't take his stuff from him.
Yeah. Gotta love Rex. All right, now Chuck, let's get to this week's Varsity Club Apparel Company Game of the Week. First of all, a big thank you to them for joining us this year, and a big thank you for these new shirts.
Yeah, great job. We appreciate them coming on board, and you know, stop down and see them downtown Defiance.
Yeah. Now, this week's game, we've got an NWAL GMC matchup. Chuck, Wauseon, 0-2 if you can believe it.
Yes. Oh,
hitting
man.
the road to take on a Tenor team that rallied last week against Delta to stand 1-1 on the season. Chuck, I don't think Wauseon thought by any stretch of the imagination they'd be 0-2 going into this game.
No, I don't think so either. I think, you know, that they have some younger guys in some key positions that, you know, they're struggling to grasp that Friday night varsity level play. And I think, you know, they'll win some games. Don't count Wauseon out of anything, you know. Coop will get them going up there, but early on they're struggling.
Well, I was reading in this week's Crescent News, Chuck, about the Tenor Delta game. Tenor was down 21-10 at half. Coach goes into locker room at halftime. Kenny Krause writes pride on the board. They came out and scored 3 third-quarter touchdowns. They win 31-21. That's a good win for Tenor.
Yeah, it really is. And you talk about, you know, Wauseon having some youth. You know, Tenor has kids that had to step up that maybe didn't play so much last year, but where they might have an advantage, Tenor has made so many deep playoff runs. Those kids are getting an extra 2, 3, 4 weeks of practice. They have a whole extra season under their belts of practice. So even though Tenor might have some new kids stepping in, those kids are not inexperienced by any means.
So what do you think about this matchup overall, Chuck?
Boy, you know, I just keep hearing about Tenora's defensive line. I just keep hearing Derek Smith is just terrorizing offensive lines and people in the backfield. You know, the Crescent had a great picture of him, I believe. He was like tackling 2 people. I saw he had it on Facebook or something. Yeah. But I mean, he's really, and Coach Lingard talked about it, they really have to game plan around that defensive line because they're so disruptive early on in the season.
Well, Dalton Dackenhouse for Tenor last week scored 4 touchdowns, Chuck. He had a big game. And then you had Everett Buter scoring a pair for Wauseon. Is the running game going to be key for these two teams, or are we going to need to see some passing to get over the top, get over the hump?
Yeah, I think, you know, it all starts with the ground game, especially if you get up early. For instance, if Wauseon scores early, gets up early, you got to control the clock. And what's the way to do that is with a good ground game. So I think ground game is definitely going to be key. And for whoever falls behind early, you might have to air it out a little bit to score points quick.
Well, it should be fun. We're looking forward to this matchup and looking forward to the highlights that Ethan gets us next week.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Yeah. Now, Chuck, it's time to hand out a few awards.
Yep.
We usually start with one called the Rose Insurance Collision of the Week. What do they say about that, Chuck?
They usually say there's collisions all the time, but a collision by any other name that is big would not be the Rose Insurance Collision of the Week.
What do we have this week?
Well,
Chuck?
you know, it's coming from that Henry County Throwdown with Liberty Center Napoleon. Here, Zane Peterson fields the opening second half kickoff for Liberty Center, but he doesn't go very far before Angel Granados puts him on the turf. Welcome to the second half.
That is your Rose Insurance Collision of the Week. And now it's time for our Jacobs Meets Play of the Week, obviously from that same game. Okay, now we got to set this up. This is a 3 overtime thriller. Napoleon gets the ball first in the third overtime. Pass northwest from Liberty Center. He goes up, he makes the interception, he stops Napoleon from scoring. Liberty Center gets the ball back. Zach Carpenter, who had a big game, rumbles in from 20 yards out for the game winner. The Tigers go crazy in the end zone, Chuck. They beat their Henry County neighbor 27-21 in 3 overtimes.
Phenomenal. Great plays there. And what was the 50-50 at that game?
That's
What
a
do you think?
great question. That is a great question. All right, Chuck. It's that time of the week now. We ask people, hey, watch us. We're doing good things here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Please check us out on social media across the board. You know, we love it. Another thing that we always talk about too, Chuck, this week, you got to check out the Blitz from the Crescent News Sports Department.
The Blitz, you know, I heard a lot of talk about it last week, and a really positive feedback from the community members that I heard talk about it. It's got great information, schedules, pictures, stories. It's phenomenal.
Yes, that'll be out again this week.
Yep.
Make sure you check that out. And Chuck, as we wrap up the show, I just have one last question for you. Any words of wisdom?
You know, Tim, no matter what game you go to, there you'll be.
See you next week.